how has he delivered on those 10 points program that he packaged as fundamental change? And when you go back to the 1986 speech, you know, what the president said, I don't think this is a mere change of guards. I think it is fundamental change. So maybe he was just thinking, and people who took his thoughts seriously maybe were in the wrong. Because if the fundamental change he promised with the 10 points program are still the issues that he's calling key, that need a focus after 35 years, and then people say this is now real business. So what have they been doing for 35 years? I think we need a bit of accountability or honesty on that journey. And we don't just jump speeches and making slogans and give false hope to Ugandans. Going on the two issues of, you know, regional integration and then the lectures, people who give lectures on democracy. Honorable Kamuntu, you are the custodian of our Constitution as Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Democracy has 5 key tenets, and the participatory or elective bit of it is just one of them. You need to look at rule of law, you need to look at aspects of human rights, you need to look at the welfare of the people. So having so many people elected is not a demonstration of democracy alone. You must look at how, first of all, these people are elected. Like Article 1 says, power belongs to the people. But when you dig deep into that article, beyond the elections that are highly contested in this country and which fall short of the anticipated elections as per the Constitution, beyond participating in choosing a vote, how does this power belong to the people? When you come to judiciary, the arms of government, judicial power belongs to the people, elective power belongs to the people. Where are the people in that power? What is the welfare of a citizen in this country after 35 years of President Museveni's existence in power? And I think it would be misleading really to celebrate the democracy because you elect from LC 1, LC 5, every 5 years you have a huge parliament. Now we have the 3rd largest parliament in the world with our small economy. So we need to look at these issues and the challenges of the day, Charles, as I conclude. The challenges of the day that should be a major focus. We have a crisis of the public debt, corruption, unemployment, poverty, human rights violations. Because it's important to underscore the fact that as you took oath at Kororo and the whole grammar that went with the swearing-in ceremony, some Ugandans have sanctions on their heads for election violence, for violating the rights of citizens. And last night, many people did not even sleep in their homes. People were beaten. You know, is this the democracy that we celebrate and we say nobody should talk to us about?
Okay. Honorable Katuntu, the issues have grown, and grown as they are, we will try as much as possible to limit within the main ones. And Sarah starts us on a different angle altogether, that this is just sloganeering, that this is actually nothing new, that these are picks from the 10 points program. You have been in parliament for some time, you have represented the people, you see the welfare situation of the people, and you want something better in the next 5 years, certainly. Do you think that the speech by President Museveni, the new president, is worth relying on, that yes, this is really no joke, there is going to be work?
Thanks very much. I was listening to my brothers, Ramadan here, and my uncle, Professor Kamuntu, who by any standard, they are very, very good economists. They have taught many young people economics at university. And Andrew Menda's credentials are also known. But I just see a general lecture, economics lecture. This, with all the theories that come with economics. Oh, we can do this, we can do this. Let me tell you, if you're an incumbent, the first thing, people like us don't look at your manifesto. They're like the two speeches. When you look at what we call the budget speech, it is a projection about the future, which you would think is a manifesto. But then you would, if you're an incumbent, you also look at the state of the nation, your performance of the previous term. So whatever Professor Kamuntu and my brother Ramadan is talking about should be just juxtaposed to the performance in the last term. You need the best to say, you see, if we are going to create more jobs, this term, with these resources, we managed to create these jobs. So if we can, these are the challenges which couldn't make us perform better. But if we plug them, then we are going to even create more jobs. Then somebody would be listening. Somebody will be listening. But it's not about theories. I'll give you an example. For the last 30 years, we've had so many affirmative action processes of Entandikwa, Plan for Modernization of Agriculture, Kulembeka, Youth Livelihood, Nage Myoga,
Women Fund.
And I just want to see what has been their performance. And why are we abandoning some of them to go now to the parish model Professor Kamuntu and my brother Ramadan is talking about? We need the explanation. Then you can move along with everybody. But to come and say all of a sudden we now have another parish model. Research has been done and so on. We don't know. Those pieces of research, we haven't seen them. We can't even debate them. We have abandoned one. For example, is a Myoga a 12-year-old product?
No.
No. And even money which we had already identified for a Myoga and other programs, we've just cut it because we are more or less using the same amount of money and reallocated it now to another program. The biggest challenge, and Professor Kamuntu knows this, is duplication of programs. And the management of those programs means we are going to spend more money in their administration. Two, we've been having a lot of public resource hemorrhage. And it's one of the impediments, corruption. It's one of the, where is it that this time we are going to be working differently from the way we've been working? I think there is a big problem there. Now let us look at the president, and Professor Kamuntu makes this point, I had it in mind. The president had 3 audiences. The first audience was us, industrialization, commercialization of agriculture. Commercialization of agriculture, let us look at the real issues. For example, land reforms, the land tenure system. What are these programs which are on the table for the land tenure system? Because you see, with the sort of land fragmentations and so on, you can't increase land productivity. It's not possible. And we are having a crisis, Charles, if you don't know. The land is not inelastic. So the land is inelastic. Yeah, it's not your growth. The population is growing. What is it that we are doing to feed this population on the same land? In the next 20 years or so, the population maybe would have doubled. So these are the real issues to be addressed. And I expected a real speech where I can live and say, oh, I think on this and on this, there's progress, and the challenges have been properly identified. The president was very combative, really. He was in that mood, and it is understandable. If now we go through, we forget about economics and we talk politics. You know what? The message to his brothers and sisters, heads of government and heads of state and government and other delegations, was if we don't unite, we would be in trouble. And he sends a message to the international community that actually even this Gaddafi thing, we could have handled it differently. You could hit us with missiles from all over the place, but it's possible you would not have won a man-to-man war and so on. Why? Put that message in context, because that international community seems to be uneasy with the president over what went on in this country during the elections. And the actions they have taken, I think he's reading further. And I don't know whether my colleagues had realized it. He's reading further than many of people. That look here, this sort of trend is really going a little bit far, and it's possible you could even have other repercussions. So he's rallying his colleagues, his brother heads of state. Say, let us be ready for this. An attack on one is an attack on all of us. And I think that message, to them, it came out clearly. To whether his brothers also saw it that way, that's another question. We'll see whether they agreed with him. And that would be a matter for the future. About things, I'm sure it was in their manifesto, services, ICT. I mean, today, if you're not talking about ICT and services, what economics are you talking about? Because most of these younger people and so on have to be employed in services. I mean, it's purely basic economics. Your students, I'm sure, know this, Ramadan. Yeah? Your students, the first year economics students, they know it. But why is it that we've not been succeeding? Because all these young men and women Andrew is talking about, we are getting from the villages, the urban migration. You free the land for purposes of commercial agriculture, and you bring them here, educate them, and they engaged in services and so on. That's the only way to develop a country. And this is basic economics. What has been the problem?
You see, the problem, I should tell you, Katunti, is you need to look at the structure of power. You see, an economy is shaped by the structure of power and politics. Who are the main influences on economic policy making in Uganda? I tell you, it is multinational capital, using institutions like the World Bank and the IMF and these other bilateral donors. They have a lot of a significant influence on government policy. And two, they have in a significant way...
Some of them sit in the Bank of Uganda,
yes,
the Minister of Finance.
And two, this is perhaps for me the biggest thing, is that they have greatly influenced the intellectual class in Uganda, whether it is in civil society, in the government bureaucracy, in academia. The ideas we have in our minds about competitiveness, about practically every single thing, about procurement, about good tax policy, every single thing is shaped by multinational capital, because we have gone to Stanford and Harvard, we have gone to Cambridge and Oxford, we have gone and done internships in these countries. The ideas we have are ideas that are not appropriate for our development, yes. So whether you look at the level of ideology and ideas, and you look at the level of the most powerful influences on government policy, they are not ideas for our national development. That is why it is difficult for Uganda government to design policies that are appropriate for its own development, because both the ideological and intellectual influences that inform policy, but also the interests that inform policy. Okay, let me give you an example.
Can I ask that you let it be like a kind of question to Professor next to you, so that he needs to respond to that immediately. It's an important thing.
Let me give you an example, Professor, like the road construction sector. I have never seen this. Uganda in the next, I think, 10 years is going to invest about 40 billion in infrastructure, whether it's oil infrastructure, whether it's transport infrastructure, whatever it is, about 40 billion.
$40 billion?
Yes, $40 billion.
Okay.
Because
I thought you were saying 40 billion.
The oil production facilities, oil production facilities alone, plus the refinery and pipeline are going to take anything between 18 to 22 billion. Then you add railways, dams, transmission lines, roads, all this. It's about 40 billion.
That's about 120 trillion.
Now, that is the size of Uganda's GDP today.
Yeah.
But I can tell you there are no Ugandan construction companies going to be doing these things. They're going to be done by foreigners. Why do you think you cannot develop Ugandan construction companies? At the level of ideas, we think Ugandans are incompetent. Let me tell you, if you begin a Ugandan company today, it cannot outcompete the Chinese, whether at price or quality. But if you protect it and discipline it, in the next 10 years it can grow and become competitive.
Okay.
So at the level of ideas, will not allow those companies to grow. 2, at the level of general practice, who are the most influential Ugandans on policy? There are those guys who have been commission agents, what they call the compradors, representing foreign construction companies, who give them fat commissions, they get deals for roads, then they contribute to the president's campaign, they contribute to Mwenda's campaign, they contribute to Katuntu's campaign, so that they are the most powerful people, these commission agents, but for them, they're not interested in local companies. They're interested in foreign companies because they're representatives of foreign capital.
Okay.
So at that level, in that practical level, it's difficult to develop a national policy for the development of local construction companies. So you depend on Chinese to do your roads, but the Chinese, the Americans, the Germans, the Koreans, everyone has developed building their own infrastructure. Uganda plans to develop having others build its infrastructure. I find that strange.
Professor, respond to that and some of the other emerging issues as well. But let's now try to be fast so that we can a lot of issues to discuss.
Two things which should be really clarified. The first one is there is no time a country will say we have developed, therefore we can fold our arms and the thing will take care of themselves. It's an economic principle. Every time you satisfy a need, a new need emerges. So when we want to respond to Sarah's question and Mwenda's question, you need to begin from 1986 to now. Let the facts speak for themselves. What was the size of the economy? What was the per capita income? What was the extension of electricity? What was it for water? What was the literacy rate? What was the mortality rate? Then from that basis, you can say, yes, you can't say nothing has changed. The way Sarah you're arguing. It can't be like nothing has. This is a process. It is an ongoing process.
Maybe, Professor, you
Yes.
misunderstood her. I thought she was saying we could have done better. Not that nothing has changed.
In
Because
other words,
nobody
we are talking
can
about the
ever
value
say
for money and
yeah,
time.
Yeah.
nobody
Cartoons.
can never
Over
say
the time.
that nothing has
Yeah,
changed.
performance over
You
time.
see
At least
point-
at our level, our
Yeah.
debate should be
Sarah,
different.
Maybe,
No,
Professor,
sir, no,
Professor,
no.
just a minute,
No,
sorry.
wait.
Let me try to focus the discussion. My understanding of Sarah's argument is this, and she can correct me, align the focus, that she's saying in 35 years, you have done so much,
She's asking-
but it is not enough for 35 years. Maybe you can challenge her and say, how much did you want us to do? That in 35 years, she also referred to the amount of huge debt that you have today on
Charles-
your hands as government.
Charles even
Maybe I can add make it simpler
Yeah.
for then Professor comes in.
Clearer.
Professor, I did analyze the 4 key issues the president raised,
Yeah.
including maybe 5 and 6 Africa integration and then the international community. If you were to score these issues, 4 of them were in the 10 points program.
yeah,
No, let me say my question, okay, so that you can respond. If you were to score, for example, democracy, would you say that you are 60%? Where are we? That's my kind of question.
and that's what I was putting to
Yeah,
you.
I'm not saying there's nothing done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Katuntu is asking a counterfactual question. What would it have been? Which was it?
Yes.
It's very difficult.
What are the
True.
indicators and where are we in
It's very
terms of
difficult. He's
performance
asking me
and where you
counterfactual.
need to go?
What it would have been? What would it have been? It wasn't.
Maybe,
How
maybe
can I answer that question?
let me now pick some of the issues that are salient. Professor, Professor, let me now help pick
Yeah,
out.
actually, I can
Let me
do
help pick out some of the issues that we need our people to listen to or to follow you on. One, talk about the issue of corruption. In the next 5 years, what are you putting in place? What are you going to put in place to ensure that the runaway corruption that we are now talking about, including the president has admitted that there is huge corruption. Last week, the Minister of Finance told a parliamentary committee that I have thieves around me. So it is clear. What do you think you are going to put in place to ensure that this time fighting corruption is serious business, not just sloganeering?
In the president's speech today, and I quote, What is needed now is to expunge the corruption of the use of money that has been creeping in, brought in by the opportunistic careerists looking for jobs and not service. So the president is mindful of this cancer, and he is not shy about it. But Charles, you should also know.
And he also provides the solution, actually.
Yes.
He says it, which is in the manifesto, the e-government.
The e-government?
Yes.
I'm going to come to you after Professor Gobi to explain how it will work, because for me what I need, the president's speech is like a constitution. I look at the president's speech at an inauguration as a manifesto, a framework, but a structure. But the doing is what we need you to tell the people right
Charles,
now.
you know, I just wanted to context the discussion, because otherwise we will not have concrete way forward.
Yeah.
If you accept that 1986, because this is, you want a baseline, you look at peace, security, and stability of the country at that time, and you want to compare what it is today, you look at the size of the economy then, and you want to see what it is today, you look at the per capita income. These are statistics, variables which you use. What it was then, what it is now. You look at the paved roads. What it was and what it is. You look at water extension. What it was. You look at the literacy rate. What it was, what it is. Then you can say, these are ongoing. They are not going to stop. You will not say we have achieved them, because economic growth is going to be continually
incremental.
Yes. And you can say, yes, surely. And that comes to Mwenda's point. Mwenda's point is, if you get old, you are slow in decision making. It reminds me of English proverb. The new brooms might sweep better, but the old one knows all the corners. Yes. There is experience, there is knowledge, there is wisdom that comes with this experience that you get. If you are Christian, I would refer you to the book of Job, chapter 12, verse 12.
Chapter what?
Chapter 12, verse 12. I would refer the old man the old man of the clan, that being old doesn't necessarily mean you are slow. No, you are only reflective, and you make better decisions. It is the quality of decision you make. Even these points you are raising.
It says, to God belong wisdom and power. Counsel and understanding are his. What he tears down cannot be rebuilt. The money in prisons cannot be released. If he holds...
No. Job.
Yes.
Chapter 12, verse 12.
Yes.
Read it. Just only one verse.
It talks about wisdom.
Yes.
Found among the aged.
Among the aged.
Yes.
Yes. That's the wisdom you have. That's why they call you the old man of the clan. It is the wisdom. But anyway, to focus the discussion, I'm saying over time, there is structural transformation taking place. You can see the contribution of each of these sectors to GDP. You can see a shift from low value sectors to higher value sectors. You can see all development indicators without exception being positive. So you can now conclude, yes, a counterfactual question, you could have done better, but show it how you could have done better.
Let me show you.
Yes.